In 2021, I read 100 books, and I'm saying this because I like to brag about it. Welcome back to my channel, and if you're new, welcome. Okay, in 2021 I read so many books, most of them self-help. Today I'm going to talk about some of the best ones. I take so many notes when I'm reading books. I just list what the main points were, any questions that I have when I finish, actionable steps that I got out of the book. I get so much from books. All of the books that I'm going to talk about today I highly recommend reading because I can't cover it all, so the value that you get out of this video will be nowhere near the amount of value you can get out of the book. Also, I think it's so cool how everyone who reads a book will get something completely different out of it. I just think that's fun. I also didn't write down who they're by, so I'm gonna put that on the screen when I read it. First book is When Likes Aren't Enough. I really like this book. I think I actually gave it 5 stars. But this book is basically a super basic and clear introduction to positive psychology, which is something that I'm really interested in. And I think that this book is really accessible to most people, whereas a lot of books on psychology try to impress you with using like big fancy words, but this book is just so clear. It's like science in a way people like me who don't like science can understand. And also it kind of gives you a lot of actionable steps, which I think is always good in a book because you feel like you're actually taking something away from it. I remember reading the first chapter of this book and it was describing what positive psychology is, and it basically said that the goal isn't to be happy, it's just to be happier. And I thought that was so nice. Like, I really loved that. Maybe it's just me who thinks that's so nice, but I think that's so nice because happiness isn't like an end goal. Like, what happens if you are happy? What then? I like happier. You get happier and you keep getting happier and you keep getting happier. There were so many good ideas in this book. I am very much struggling to condense it. I think that one of my favorite things that they talked about was the anticipation effect, which is basically the idea that we actually enjoy the excitement of looking forward to something more than we usually enjoy the actual event itself. I love this because it made sense to me. Excitement is my favorite feeling in the world. I love to be excited for things. So the advice from here was basically that it's better to have lots of little things to look forward to and get excited about as opposed to just one big thing, because then that's over and it's like, what now? Whereas if you have lots of little things, you get to constantly have that excitement and that anticipation, which is great. Okay, next book is called Kindfulness. This was just a really lovely little book. It took me about an hour to read and it was just nice. It's basically a combination of self-compassion and mindfulness. My favorite takeaway from this book was probably the idea that all of our flaws are shared. There's nothing that you could view about yourself as a flaw that isn't shared by like a million trillion zillion people before you. It's basically saying like you're never alone in the things that you don't like about yourself. It's all human. It's all people. My absolute favorite, I think I'm going to say that this is my favorite, is Curious. Like, I can't even put into words how much I love this book. I might be a little bit biased because I do think that curiosity is like the sexiest trait that a person can have. Like, if you love to learn, that is so hot and I want you so bad for that reason. Literally, I don't even know where to start with this book. Like, I loved it all so much. I feel like it was such a great combination of science and education and just being fun to read. It explains so much about how little dopamine receptors get stimulated when we learn something or when we're interested in something. And it's like basically the same as when you're like romantically interested in someone, which I'm like, that's pretty cool. So you're like trying to fuck knowledge? I know I am. Okay, if I have to pick one part of the book that I think I like the most, it would be what he called spreading your cognitive bets. Basically it means we don't know what we need to know in order to be happy and in order to be successful. You're not given like a list of things that you need to know. The only way to figure it out is just by figuring it out, which means that the best thing to do is to learn as much as you can about as many different things and kind of hope that you end up learning the stuff that you do need. Plus also it means you get like cool dinosaur facts sometimes. I hope that makes sense. I feel like I explained it so badly and I'm not doing this book justice, but it was so good. I loved it. I also love this idea in the book how being interested in things makes you more sociable because you're interested in people and what they know and what they have to say, which I think is quite nice. Apparently the guy who did the Mona Lisa was like this. Like, his to-do list was basically go to all his little buddies' houses and ask them how things worked. Hello, little intermission to just say please like the video if you're enjoying it and subscribe if you would like to. Also leave a comment and tell me what the best book you've ever read is and I will read it. and talk to you about it. Next book is called Faking It. Truly, I thought this book was so interesting. So it's a book about sex and the lies that women tell about sex and like why they tell these lies. So there was like a bunch of stuff about faking orgasms, hence the title of the book, I'm assuming, which is so interesting, I think, because the reasons were so different. Like some people talked about doing it just to make sex end faster or to like save their partner's little ego. And I think the most interesting one actually was they did it just because it's part of what they're expected to do, like following the script. I love this one because the idea of scripts in dating and sex, especially between generations, is something that I'm so interested in. And this book just made so many interesting points about how people prioritize like performing sex as opposed to prioritizing enjoying it. Anyway, there was so much in this book that I loved. If anyone wants to talk more about it, I could go on about it for years, so let me know and we can discuss. I have a list of talking points. Next is another very easy to read book. It was Mirror Work by Louise. I feel like if you are kind of into the law of attraction or manifestation, you probably have heard of Louise because she's just like one of the bigger names in that. I get that this book maybe is a bit much for some people in a spiritual sense, but even if you're not spiritual, I feel like there's a lot of actionable steps in here that would be useful for anyone. It's basically just about talking to yourself in the mirror every day as a way of improving your life through the way that you view yourself. There are lots of little activities in here that I've like kept doing since I finished the book. There are some that I was like, no, this one isn't for me, and like that's fine. I gained something, and I feel like most people would be able to gain something. Next is Lost Connections. A lot of people recommended me this book, and it was definitely one of the best books that I've read, maybe ever actually. I really loved this book. It basically just talks about all of the ways that people have become disconnected, and then he talks through a bunch of ways to like reconnect with these things. But I do think my favorite thing in here was an idea that I'd never heard of before called sympathetic joy, which basically is just talking about feeling happiness for someone else's happiness, as opposed to feeling bitter or jealous or envious when someone achieves something. Like, it is so much nicer for yourself and for them to feel happy for them and proud of them, because 99% of the time someone else's success isn't detracting from your own. It's just nice to react to other people's good news the way you would like other people to react to your good news, because everyone gets a turn. Okay, the last book that I'm going to talk about in this video is called Kidding. And it was just a cute little book about how kids have all these cool little things in their heads that adults could probably learn from. Like, for kids, everything in the whole world is so new and so exciting and so fun, and they're not stuck thinking about the past or worrying about the future. Like, they're literally just there inside every moment, hanging out, having fun. Basically, kids are naturally masters at mindfulness. I also found it so interesting, the idea that, like, looking back at your childhood, it feels like everything was going so slowly, whereas now things just feel fast. I swear I blink and it's been a whole month. And basically the reason that that happens is because your brain takes longer to process new information. So when you're a kid, you're getting all this new information, so your brain is like really slowly going through and like making sense of it all, whereas now your brain kind of automatically just... So the book talked about ways that you can use this childlike view of the world to make your own life better and slow things down and enjoy the little things more, try new things whenever you can, being excited about literally everything. And it just makes the world feel like it's moving a little bit slower. Makes you feel like you have more time. My favorite idea in this book was just treating every day like a special occasion. Like, every day is a party for kids. They always put on their best fits and eat their best chocolate cake, whatever. It's just like, treat every day like it's a cool, exciting day. Wear the special perfume that you save for special occasions and drink out of your special occasion mug. Literally just make everything as fun as you possibly can. Okay, I'm going to stop here because I could talk about books for hours and hours and hours. If you like this and want another one, let me know, because I genuinely could do 100 of these videos, and I will if anyone wants to see them, or actually even if I just feel like it. I think at some point, once I run out of video ideas, I'm gonna start doing like a weekly book club where I just pick one book and talk about it more in depth. But also I'm not sure if that's legal. I don't know, like is that copyright infringement? I'll have to look it up. I'll speak to my lawyer. Are any of you lawyers, by the way? If you are, DM me about something. Anyway, so maybe subscribe for that. If not, maybe subscribe for the other cool things that I do. There's lots of them. That's it. Okay, love you, bye.